Are you a business owner or entrepreneur who's had great success in the business world, and now you want to launch a speaking career to share your message with the world? If that's you, then listen up. 25-year speaking industry veteran Bret Ridgway has released his latest special report, 3 key things entrepreneurs must master to build a profitable speaking business. To pick up your copy, go to bretridgway.com/freebie. Welcome to the Spotlight on Speaking show with Bret Ridgway, where you'll learn the keys to building a profitable speaking business from speaking industry pros. Each week, we interview a great guest who will share his or her speaking journey, identify what their keys to success have been, and highlight some critical mistakes they've made along the way that you'll want to avoid. Be sure to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, sit back, tune in, and get ready to meet this week's guest.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight on Speaking show. I'm your host, Bret Ridgway, and excited to have as my guest today, Kadin McElwain. Now, Kadin is an autistic college student, writer, and activist on a mission to raise as much awareness about autism as possible. Throughout his life, his capabilities were questioned due to who he was. But thanks to a supportive set of parents, he has proven naysayers wrong. Welcome, Kadin, to the Spotlight on Speaking show.
Thanks for having me, sir.
All right, so this show, you by far are probably the youngest person I've ever interviewed on the program. So I'm curious to find out how you decided to get in speaking in the first place, and what are you hoping to do with it? So when did your quote speaking career begin, Kadin?
Well, it began in March of last year,
Okay.
when I gave a speech on autism awareness at my local Treasurers Community Outreach meeting, because I saw that autism is a cause commonly neglected in mainstream media. So I wanted to bring awareness to that by telling my story about how I was able to overcome the odds and get to where I'm at now.
All
And
right,
I'm
so
hope,
you're a college student now, correct?
yes, sir.
So what are you majoring in, Kadin?
Communications currently.
All right, very good. So how did you, when you spoke to that first group, did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How did it all come together?
It was a little bit of both. I reached out to someone and they referred me to another person who was in charge of the whole thing, my local treasurer, and he invited me to speak because he heard about the group project I was doing.
All right. So when you go into a organization like that to talk, do you use the same speech each time? Do you vary it based on the audience in some way? I mean, what's the obviously the go-to topic is autism and autism awareness, but are you working with a typical 15-minute speech, a 20-minute speech? What's your format?
Well, with these, which is also public speaking in a way, these interviews, I definitely vary how I approach the audience and stuff like that. The longest podcast I've ever done was an hour, 2 hours, I believe.
Wow. It's, that's a lot of talking, 2 hours worth of talking. So when you go to deliver a speech, how do you measure, Kadin, whether you feel your speech has been successful, that your message has really hit home? What's your gauge on the effectiveness of a given talk?
Whether it'll inspire people, I'm just a guy who believes in his cause.
So how do you know if they've been inspired or not? Well, I mean, do you have a call to action at the end of the talk? Do you invite them to get involved in something? I mean, or are you just basing that on the number of people that come up to you afterwards and thank you for coming to their organization and speaking?
All of the above. The call to action in this case, in the sense of the interviews and speeches and all that, would be to bring autism to the mainstream, give it more attention.
Right. So when you're preparing a speech, and how do I phrase this properly? Let's see. What do you feel are the critical elements that go into your talk that will make it a successful speech?
Well, with these, I usually just improv answers as soon as I hear the questions. But in the sense of speeches, I do the exact same thing but different variations. I tell my story and end with the call to action
All right, and what is your specific call to action, Caden?
to give autism more attention, treat people with kindness, and unite and not look at people's differences.
So, what do you hope to do with your speaking career? Is this going to become a bigger part of your ambitions long term, or is this a temporary thing? I mean, how long do you envision being involved in this particular movement, so to speak?
Absolutely, it's going to be a long thing. It'll probably be something I do the rest of my life. Eventually, I'm hoping to work for a nonprofit centered around autism. And then
Okay.
eventually, I want to get into politics.
Really? Okay. So, when you are putting together this talk for an organization, what would you advise somebody else who is following in your footsteps, so to speak? What would you advise them are the most critical elements of having a successful speech? What are your three biggest tips for success, in other words?
I have one really major tip, and that's believe in your cause and don't care about whatever people think. If they don't like your speech and if they don't like you for who you are, that's on them. Don't give them the time of day.
So that raises the question, have you gotten pushback at all in your speaking career?
So far, none, as far as I know.
Great. All right. So now's the embarrassing side of the question or whatever. So have you ever made a mistake in your speaking career that you said, "Oh man, what am I doing?" But a valuable lesson was learned, and it would be something that you would advise others not to do.
Not necessarily in the speaking career, but in my academic career, I've always been a bad test taker. But as of late, I've been learning to take my time and not rush through things.
So you're an inspirational person, Caden, because of what you've overcome and your willingness to get out there in front of others and speak. So, what would your advice be to somebody who has something that they need to overcome about getting up in front of other people and not being afraid to share that message?
I would say, hey, don't worry about whatever people think. You are an amazing person. And if people can't see that, don't give them the time of day because they're going to miss out on an amazing friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, or employee.
So, autism is your cause. Why don't you speak for a couple of minutes, if you would, about that particular subject and how what's the crux of your message to people when you go out and deliver your speech? I guess is the fundamental question there.
Yeah, absolutely. The crux of my speeches and my appearances and all that is don't look at differences and unite for once. The world is currently divided right now because of people's differences. But if we were to put that pettiness aside and realize we're all the same, the world would definitely be a much better place.
Well, without a doubt. So, where can people go to get more information about you and what you're doing, and how can they support you in some way?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Facebook at Kadin Ronald, KADINRONALD. Follow me on Instagram at 73 posts here, and you can read any of my writings on the sports column or everyday fan at Kadin McElwain, KADINMCELWAIN.
So, what do you write on, Keaton? You say sports?
Yeah, sports mainly, but recently I've branched out into autism awareness advocacy.
All right. So, speak a little bit more on that, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. I started writing when I was 11 years old with poetry, but I started taking it seriously at 14. I'm 20 now, so I have over 6 years of experience, over 400 articles published as of this recording, and I've interviewed several people that look really good on resumes.
All right, so make sure you send to me, please, Caden, the URLs for your social media platforms so we can get that into the show notes for people so they can check you out further and get behind your cause. What other words of wisdom might you have for somebody who's thinking about speaking and just afraid to open that door, so to speak?
I would say you got this. Like I said, you're an amazing person. If people can't see that, don't give them the time of day.
All right, well, very good. Well, Kate, I admire you so much for what you've gotten up and done, and I wish you the best of luck in your continued mission. To all the listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, I wish you the greatest of success in all that you do. And may this year be your greatest year yet. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
This has been the Spotlight on Speaking show with Bret Ridgway. Be sure to join us every week as we interview speaking industry pros and have them share their best tips for building a profitable speaking business. Until next week, thank you for tuning in, and remember to visit our website at spotlightonspeaking.com so you can enjoy even more great episodes like this one. While you're here, be sure to subscribe via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Spotlight on Speaking show. Until then, our sincere best wishes to you for the greatest of success as you work to build your own profitable speaking business.